just commissioned as an officer. I was preparing for my third combat deployment, once again, Afghanistan, and it just hit me. I was just like, I've got to do something different. When that baby was born, I was like, I cannot be gone so much. So I was looking for an exit plan. I started mailing vacant landowners that were behind on their taxes for years. This was like garbage land, not efficient land, not buildable, not accessible, landlocked, and I would buy one man's trash.
So you buy land and then you're basically putting a loan, mortgage, whatever to somebody and they do whatever they want with it. And because people need land, everybody needs land. Land's always going up.
I started placing brand new manufactured homes on this land as well. There's a way to get manufacturer pricing, like directly from the manufacturer at discounts. And we're getting the land already at a discount. And we place that brand new mobile home or manufactured home on it or modular home. And now our buyers can get financing.
Wait. Land for $500? Like, what are you buying? A front yard? Like, I don't understand.
First parcel I bought was $285. Second parcel I bought was $500. The third parcel, $75 grand. I made a huge jump. There is land out there, and there still is. Now, I just want to say this, anybody listening to this, it takes the same amount of time to make $50,000 as it does to make $5,000. You just got to mail a little bit better parcel of land. So I brought my quitclaim deed to the land title insurance company on Tuesday. This was Saturday, mind you, when I was looking at these, and got my certified check on Wednesday for $5 grand. So I was like, I just netted $4,700 in like 3 hours of time. I don't even tell you what I'd have to do in the military for that much money.
I've heard you say on other podcasts that you check sort of 7 days and you kind of zoom out to 30 days. Why is that?
Yeah, I want to see like how quickly, like absorption rate basically, how quickly are these selling and then what's available for sale, because at the end of the day,
I'm Garrett Wong and this is the Investing to Win podcast. How do you define success? And what does winning look like for you? Brent, you're telling me you can make $17,000 a month from vacant land without tenants. I'm in real estate. I can't even wrap my head around that statement. Got to tell me more.
Let's go. I am so happy you asked that. And that's probably the best question anybody's asked me for about a month. And the fact that it's the first question you asked, let's go. All right, so I'm gonna tell you exactly how to get there. I don't know how much you want me to get into the meat and potatoes. I'll go as deep as you want. But I was in the Army. I was trying to get out. I was making $4 grand a month, working like 80 hours a week, almost about to be on divorce number 2 because my wife never saw me and she was taking care of 2 babies, pregnant with a 3rd one. And I was not present when I was home. My fault. Blame that on me. So I was looking for an exit plan. So I started mailing vacant landowners that were behind on their taxes for years. This was like garbage land, not efficient land, not buildable, not accessible, landlocked. And I would buy one man's trash and it would turn it into another man's treasure by allowing them to pay me monthly payments. That's all I was trying to do because I had rental houses. I wanted to have rentals. I wanted to have like rental income coming in, but I didn't like fixing toilets or roofs or septic systems or chasing. I
always say renters. Toilets and tenants.
I'm telling you what, and it's become rats. We've had, you name it. I have a bunch of rental properties. I'm trying to sell every one of our houses. I don't know why I went down that route. I always felt like I was missing something. All my friends bought single family homes and talked about how great it was. I think they were lying. Or they just had them in good school districts. I bought the ghetto stuff. But what I would do every time I would sell this land, I would just basically say, like, Garrett, hey, thanks for contacting me about the land. Were you thinking of paying all cash or did you need me to finance it for you? And 90% of the people say, yeah, how much, what's the monthly payment? I would say, well, let's get on the phone. I would see what a comfortable down payment was and what they can afford each month. And most of the time I was charging 12% interest. I would go anywhere from 5 years all the way to 30 years for the financing. And I still do. I just figure out the payment that works for them. Sometimes they hate my interest rate. They're like, 12%. And I was like, well, if you put a little bit more down, I can lower the interest rate. What would you like to see? Sometimes they'd be like, 10%. So I said, all right, can you put 1,000 more down? Sure, I could do that for, so it was just all, figuring out what worked for the buyer, because I always found that people want to own American land, and there was never a parcel of land I couldn't sell.
Okay, back up for a second here. So are you talking about owning land and you're renting it out to people, or you're you're the financer? Like maybe I'm not understanding it. If I'm not
Yeah,
understanding, they always say keep everything to a fifth grader level or something
yeah.
like that.
So
So
I would
back up a
buy
little
this
bit.
land, and
Okay.
not all of it was not buildable. Like I eventually migrated and evolved into better land that people really wanted, but I would sell it to them. I would
Okay.
sell it to them on a contract for deed. Sometimes I would even transfer the deed in their name if they put a big enough down payment to where I would do a mortgage and a promissory note. That's my preferred method, but I want at least a $6,000 down payment. That's like the minimum. For a while there was 5,000, but if someone gave me like maybe 1,500 down or 2,000 down, you bet I was not transferring that deed into their name until they paid me off completely. And I used what's called a contract for deed. Some states call it a land contract. Anybody listening to this, I highly recommend use an attorney in the state that you're in, because there's certain little laws and loopholes. I found one out in Colorado after doing 360 land deals that I needed to use a little bit different language. Even though my attorney in Colorado wrote it, thank God she covered that mistake.
So you buy land and then you're basically putting a loan, mortgage, whatever to somebody and they do whatever they want with it. But now, because typically, I mean, at least up here, I'm in Canada. Imagine it's the same in the US, but you're buying your land, you're putting a house on it, comes as a package deal, right? And a lot of banks and institutions are like, okay, well, you have to pay if you're going to do land, you got to do it 100%, and then you can put a house on it. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, and if they're doing contract for deed with us, I actually don't allow them to put a house on it until it's paid for.
Okay.
A lot of times they'll get a bank loan against it, and the bank will pay me off. We call that a construction loan, or they'll sell it. Now, if I do transfer the deed and I'm seller financing it that way via mortgage, yeah, they can put a house on it. Most of them don't, because you get into different laws like Dodd-Frank. It's harder to take the land back when their head lays there at nighttime. It's way
I
easier
see.
when they're not sleeping there. Now, let me just say too, like, it's so easy to get more land. I always want to have a happy buyer guarantee. Like, I want to make sure my buyer's happy. Sometimes I do have to take this land back. It's never a fight though. It's just we figure out what works and what's not working. Sometimes I help them sell it. Sometimes I'll buy it back from them. Sometimes they'll just literally stop communicating with me, and I send them, 3 emails, 3 phone calls, 3 voicemails, and a certified letter saying we're taking it back on this date, and no fights.
I have to admit, when your agent reached out, and I'm just like, I was intrigued, right? Because I've had a lot of real estate people. I actually just like 5 minutes before we were talking, the agreement had like a blockchain investor on.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
all over the map, but real estate is what I love. But of course, I own a large property management company up here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And that's why I say it's always about toilets and tenants.
Yeah.
And yet you're making residual income basically on financing spreads, if I'm guessing, and because people need land, everybody needs land. Land's always going up. And then you just said, well, if you have to sometimes take it back, it probably is easier because there's no emotional component to it. These people are they don't live there. They don't have to move their worldly possessions, right?
That's true. That's right. And that's usually why they sell it to us easier as well. No emotion. Never step foot on it. They're behind on taxes, or they inherited it, or they bought it 20 years ago with their first wife and they planned on, building whatever. And it just never happened. And then it's just, there's so many different ways to make money with land. That's not the only way. A lot of times we'll sell this land for cash. We've recently, since about 2020, we started experimenting with this. I started placing brand new manufactured homes on this land as well. There's a way to get manufacturer pricing, like directly from the manufacturer at discounts. And we're getting the land already at a discount. And we place that brand new mobile home or manufactured home on it, or modular home. And now our buyers can get financing. I don't have to finance them anymore. I do some improvements like add septic and a well and electric in a home. Now they can get FHA lending, VA, USDA. Like, some of these guys are walking into our properties 0% down, VA loans. And these are beautiful homes. And it's helping with the affordable housing crisis that we have in this country as well, or in the United States anyways.
Yeah, no, I've had, again, the podcast has been running for about 3 years, hundreds of clients, hundreds of guests. And I have had, there's one fellow on with the mobile home type of thing. But again, I don't think he had the land component sewn up in quite the same way. And so it seems like you can kind of point in almost any direction with it. It's really fascinating. But let me take a bit of a step back. First of all, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Military. My son's waiting to get in the military up here in Canada, so I completely know what that's like. What was that moment in time? You know, you mentioned like 12, 13-hour days. Can you remember the moment where you're just like, I can't keep paying with my family time?
Yes. Oh my goodness gracious. So I did 2 back-to-back deployments to Afghanistan when I was enlisted, and then the Army. I got selected for a special program. I actually put in for it 2 years in a row to go to college for 21 months to get my bachelor's degree to become an officer. And what they don't tell you about being an officer is you're going to work almost twice the hours and get paid a little bit more, and have a lot more
Yeah.
responsibility. Well, when our first baby was born in 2016, I was gung ho. I was like ready to go. I had just commissioned as an officer. I was preparing for my third combat deployment, once again, Afghanistan. And it just hit me. I was just like, I've got to do something different. When that baby was born, I was like, I cannot be gone so much. And really, the first year of his life, I only saw him about 2 months. And it just hurts to be away so much. And then we had another baby, and then my wife really just started, like, honestly, I think she actually told me this. She despised me because I got to get away. I got to go work, and I hated what I was doing at that point. And I
Yeah.
hated that I'd come home to an angry wife, and it was just like, I've got to do something different. And so I just started searching for answers, listening to podcasts.
You know, I have my own type of wake up moment there because I was trying to think back. So, like, I started investing when I was 27 years old. My son was born, I think, when I was 29 or 30 years old, something like that. And so I am working as a scientist. That's a long story. So I'm working as a scientist in a pharmaceutical company. I would take my gym bag with me, and then I would go and flip houses and do renovations, right? Just change out of my work gear into my other work gear. And so 18-hour days, and I had a
Yep.
newborn at home. And, you know, this happens to every partner. I'm not going to say man or woman, every partner that comes home who's away, eventually the baby's going to play shy, right? You reach for them and they turn away and they start crying or something. And it's like a knife through your heart, right? And my business partner at the time, I was really upset about it, right? He's about the same age, just married, but he didn't have any kids yet. And he said, well, don't worry about it. He's trying to console me, right? I'm super upset. Don't worry about it. They won't remember.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm thinking, you know, F that. Like, I'm going to remember, right? And that was, I completely changed everything from there. And it was just like family first. And I took some time off. And yeah, it was those moments kind of, what's the point of working your butt off for the people that you want to support? If you're not there for them, you're going to lose them anyways, right? That's kind
Oh
of
my God. Yeah.
my
And we
mentality,
say
right?
we're doing it for our family.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a big lie. And I said that for years. I'm doing this for you guys. No, I was doing it for my ego. My wife kept saying, I'm fine to live in an apartment if we get to see you more. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to drive a nice vehicle. Like, and I was like, that's just bull crap. That's such a lot. Married 10 years later, I actually believe her. I believe it. And it was so cool. This morning was donuts with dads. And I took my 3 kids to school this morning, had donuts with them. And our friends, children, came up to us as soon as we got there. And my daughter said, hey, their daddy's at work. Can they hang out with us? And I know their dad, and he works so hard. He works 12-hour days. And the little girl kept saying, well, you're my daddy today. And it kind of broke my heart. I was like, oh God,
Yeah.
I don't let your dad hear that.
Yeah.
Because he is, like, he works for a W-2. He can't not take off.
You're
And I
right. Of
almost felt
course.
terrible for him. But at the same time, now that I'm talking to you, I'm thinking, how blessed am I? I work a lot. I still work a lot. I love to work. but I get to go to all the donuts with dads and, muffins with dads and all, like, what, muffins with moms. I don't get to go to those, but, I was just like, how cool.
Look, we're both entrepreneurs. We're in real estate. That's sort of the dream, right? And everybody right now, is saying real estate is dead, and yet you have found a way, right? See, there he is. Audience, if you got to watch this stuff on YouTube, if you're just listening in the car, because Brent's adamantly shaking his head. Everybody says real estate's dead. Everybody's like, go into AI, go into crypto, go into stocks and stuff. And sure, it's difficult, right, to find a traditional quote unquote real estate deal. And that's why we have people like Brent on the show. So what would you say to those people who are like, real estate's dead?
Oh my gosh, it shifts. Okay, so Garrett, I have been so blessed, and I mean, I call it God. Like, God is always guiding my path, and I really believe that the reason He's made me successful is to take money off of my brain, so now I can focus on really what's important. Because really, money is not important. I guess it is if you don't have any. If you're listening to this show and like you need to make money right now, then yeah, it's like oxygen.
Absolutely
Very important. But really, money is just a tool. That's all it is. What is wealth? It just gives us different and better options. But I did house hacking when I went to college in 2013. I bought the house next to the college. I didn't know what that was. I just knew that I needed a place to live quick. So I rented a room from a guy. Literally just was going through a divorce. My first wife left me on my second deployment to Afghanistan.
Ouch.
So I was like, well, heck, I need somewhere to go. So I rented a room from this guy for like $650 a month. It's a dump location. I'm feeding this cat. I'm changing the litter box. I'm like, gosh, it stinks in my room. So I was like, I'm just going to buy a house. I already owned a rental. So I bought the one right next to the college. I rented both the rooms out, and now I'm making money to live there. I was like, this is genius. I'm so smart. So I bought another house with that. I did a cash out refi. So I did very well with house hacking. Then I started doing Airbnbs in like 2015, 14 timeframe, because the Army sent me to go train. So we rented our house out. We left our clothes in the closet, but we were netting $4,000 a month on our only Airbnb. And then it turned into land. So it's like there's always a different. So now Airbnbs are terrible, by the way, for me anyways. I've sold them all.
Up here too. Yeah, no, it's the regulations up here in Canada, province by province. They're slowly shutting them down. It's that whole NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Yes. Oh my goodness gracious. So there's always a different way to make money in real estate. You just need the great book called Who Moved My Cheese. I don't think we should have shiny object syndrome, but we should always know what's kind of going on out there. Don't get tunnel visioned on the one way of making money. Yes, you could be tunnel visioned while you're making money on that, but be ready for a shift and a pivot at any time. So land, I could pretty much sell any parcel of land within 30 days from 2016 to about 2022. Land's still selling, but where I used to sell it in 30 days, now it takes like 2 months, 2.5 months. So it's not as quick, and I get to get better deals. They're still out there. They're everywhere as long as you're looking. But now I've shifted into placing brand new mobile homes and manufactured housing on my land. I've got 9 of these going right now. I'm selling 2 a month. I really feel like I've got a couple-year window to capitalize several $1 million, put it in our pockets, and with this, because there's always a little tiny shift. Right now, it's affordable housing. That's like the hot button everywhere. So
programs and everything else. Like I have an AI implementation company because obviously people are all like, oh, I know how to use ChatGPT, but how do you truly integrate it into your business? So I think every entrepreneur, look, if you don't change, you die, right? If you don't innovate, you're stagnant, and then your competitors will overtake you. And real estate is no different. So tell me a bit about this. I'm intrigued about the mailing list. Walk us through that. Like the first time you mailed a land list and your phone exploded, like any recipes there?
Yeah, and it's changed quite a bit now from when I started. I mailed the people that were behind on their taxes. Like tax lien investors were not even paying the back taxes on this property. I didn't know what I was doing. So I sent them a simple postcard saying, hey, my name is Brent. I'd like to buy your land in El Paso County, Colorado. If you're interested in a fair cash offer, call me or text me. And anybody can get that postcard. It still works to this day. Go to the landsharks.com/postcard. You can put in your email and it'll send you a copy of that. But I mailed that to 687 of these people, and the phone started ringing. Now, I was buying land $200, $300, $400, $500 back then. This is 2016. And I would sell it for $5,000, $6,000, $14,000.
Wait. Land for $500? Like, what are you buying? A front yard? Like, I don't understand.
First parcel I bought was $285. Second parcel I bought was $500. The third parcel, $75,000. I made a huge jump. Yes, so there is land out there, and there still is. Now, I just want to say this to anybody listening to this. It takes the same amount of time to make $50,000 as it does to make $5,000. You just got to mail a little bit better parcel of land. So I've kind of changed the strategy up a little bit. I now look for land selling in areas, and then I target it. I don't just go in my backyard and say, I'm going to mail the whole county and see what I can get. Right. That's the harder way to do this. Now, if we figure out where land is selling, then we send them a direct offer letter that says how much we'll pay that if they accept that offer and sign it and send it back. We know we have a property, we have a piece of land under contract that's now an asset that's going to make us $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. That's the way I like to fish.
Okay, I have to go back to $285. Like, yeah. What did you buy for $285?
It was actually 2 lots in Palmer Lake, Colorado.
Come on, 2 lots, not one, but 2. Okay.
The land is still not buildable, by the way. It was 1 ingress, 1 egress on Lake Avenue. It was a retired CPA that sold me the land. He just wanted what he had in back taxes. That way he can get them paid. I didn't know what the land was worth, had no clue. I called the real estate office that was down the bottom of the hill. I was like, hey, I got these 2 lots. What do you think they're worth? What's the blowout price? What can you list them for? She's like, probably $10,000. And I was like, what? She knew the whole situation. 1 ingress, 1 egress. The fire department wouldn't allow this. Basically, the city wouldn't allow it to be buildable.
Okay.
And there's like $1 million homes up the hill. Like, I just like looking at these mansions. I'm like, golly. So that realtor ended up making me an offer on the phone. She's like, what if I just bought it from you? I was like, okay. And she offered me $5,000. I said, when do you want to close? She said, I can pay you on Wednesday. So I brought my quitclaim deed to the land title insurance company on Tuesday. This was Saturday, mind you, when I was looking at these, and got my certified check on Wednesday for $5,000. So I was like, I just netted $4,700 in like 3 hours of time. And I don't even want to tell you what I'd have to do in the military for that much money.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Let's get into operations a little bit. Like, how does, if you were to teach somebody, and I imagine you have some kind of system that you use in like 30 days, what would somebody start out with? Like, I'm sure everybody's intrigued by now. They've stopped their cars or on the side of the road taking notes. How do you start?
Yeah, so that's funny you say 30 days. That's kind of like the magic number. I don't coach a lot of people these days, but I still do. And if I can get them paid on a land deal in 30 days, they're hooked. That I could, like, I never made money on my rentals. Like, I needed to make money now, preferably today. How do I make money today? So the first step is going on Zillow or Redfin and seeing where land is selling. I love the fact to be in my own backyard when I'm starting, if possible, preferably like no more than a 3-hour radius, which is massive, by the way, but you can still drive to it on a weekend. So I recommend starting in your own backyard within about 3-hour radius and seeing where the land's selling. Once you see where the land's selling, now you know how much it's selling for. You can figure out price per square foot or price per acre. Doesn't matter. It could be smaller parcels or larger parcels. It does not matter. This works on a $5,000 parcel. It works on a $500,000 parcel. There's just more buyers in the $100,000 to $300,000 range. Just remember that. So once you know that, we use a software program. It's called Pebble. If anybody wants to use Pebble, you can get all my templates. They do a 14-day free trial, $50 mail credit. I even think they have a free version now, so use that one. Just go to thelandsharks.com/CRM, like customer relationship management. That's what I use to make these offers every single day to landowners. So it's like, when you're trying to get a date, when you're single, you got to ask. Well, in my case, I had to ask like 10 girls out. I'm going to go for coffee. One would say yes, hopefully, on a good day. So that's it. Like, most of the people are not going to accept my offer, but the ones that do, they obviously have some sort of motivation or disconnect from the property, or they're tired of paying the taxes. And I go in and I start my due diligence, and hopefully I can pay what I offered. Sometimes my offers are off, but that's the start. And then we see who's buying that land, who the cash buyers are. Maybe you don't have money in your bank account to buy this stuff. We can always assign our contract.
So if I'm understanding correctly, these letters you're sending are actually like blind offer letters?
You got it. That's what we call it in the industry. I call them LOLs, land offer letters, or laugh out loud, because they just got a smoking hot deal.
So you're sending these out. So you've done some analysis, like you said. You know what price you think you want. You send it out, and it's just casting a net. But I think it's brilliant, because typically wholesalers, other people who are kind of doing that door knocking, right? Everybody who's in real estate has done some door knocking, or if you haven't, you should. You should. And then you get your foot in the door, then there's a conversation, then it's back and forth, and what do you think you want? And that's fine. I think it's necessary, but you can't, every wholesaler, every person I've talked to for these types of things, they run out of steam, because they can't scale. What you're talking about here is knowing your number, sending it out, and then, my goodness, if you have a CRM in this day and age, I mean, double it up, triple it up, at worst, what do? They unsubscribe, or if you're sending regular mail, that's whatever, right? Yeah, it's brilliant. Did I miss anything there?
You got it. You absolutely got it. Yeah, we're sending these they're real letters. They get them, they can throw it away, or they can sign it and send it back.
So why do you think it works? I mean, if I'm thinking, if I'm a landowner and I just get this guy, right? It's just, I'm going to, pay $100,000 for your land, or $50,000 for your land. Mm-hmm. Why does it work? What's the psychology behind it? Right
time, right place, right motivation. It's just, it's not going to work for everybody, but it's like, okay, say for instance, you have a nice car in your garage, and you shine that car, you wax it, and then years go by, you haven't used the car. Now you're stacking boxes on top of it. Now it's taking up space in your garage, and your wife's like, oh my goodness, like, get rid of that thing. I can barely walk through the garage. And for years, it's been like your baby. Now it's no longer your baby. And you receive a letter like, oh man, I'd be open to selling. I mean, I know it's probably worth more than that, but I'll just call this guy.
Like you said, to your point, there's no emotion, right? So it's just like, okay, well, I guess that maybe that's part of it. Because if you're a homeowner, like, let's talk about the wholesaling aspect, okay? Your typical person who would wholesale, okay? So you're doing, door knocking, you're targeting properties that look disheveled, they've got things in the front yard, et cetera, et cetera. So i.e., you are targeting people who are in financial distress. Mm-hmm. Then you invade their privacy by knocking on the door. Mm-hmm. And you have to almost, I don't want to say humiliate, but get them to bare their soul to a stranger, to admit that they have financial problems. And then you have to lowball and go in there and justify why you are buying their home for less. And then you have to arrange for them to move out. That's a whole lot of emotional baggage. And that's why these letters don't work for wholesaling. But for land, I can totally see it. I feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, land's a lot easier to buy than a house, I think. People are told your house is your biggest investment their entire life, and they never paint it, they never replace the carpets, and they see it should go up in value, right?
Yeah.
They're not told that with their land.
And so if we're talking about more of the operating system here. So you're doing some searches and you're checking solds. I've heard you say on other podcasts that you check sort of 7 days and you kind of zoom out to 30 days. Why is that?
Yeah, I want to see like how quickly, like absorption rate, basically, how quickly are these selling, and then what's available for sale. Because at the end of the day, if I list mine, I think they'll sell for 50,000 for that lot, and everyone else is listed at 49,000, 48,000, 47,000. There's 20 of them on the market. Why would someone pay me 50,000? So I need to know like a little bit about the market. You don't have to be like spot on, because here's the thing. It's like eventually those $47,000 ones will sell and yours is next, basically. But I want to be the next one. I want mine to sell like the day I take ownership of it, or preferably before. I want to have the buyer lined up ahead of time. That's where the magic comes into play.
So is that kind of like that cluster that you talk about, a cluster of solds and things like that? That's
exactly right. You know, I think of the military days. We want to get a cluster pattern. We want to have a tight shot group.
Right.
The tighter, the better, even
tight grouping. In the solds. Yeah. Okay. And so what does a healthy cluster look like in terms of if you're zooming out on a neighborhood or a map? Maybe not a neighborhood, but a geographical area.
Some of the best land deals I've done, there's been like one or two within 6 months that have sold. And then I go look at what's for sale. Oh, there's nothing for sale. Or there's one or two. So it doesn't have to be like a heat map where it's just like lit up. You know, I mean, obviously I want to see more the better, because then that gives me more certainty. But a lot of times the less certain we are in this land business on the numbers, the better of a discount we need. And that's usually where the spread gets larger on our profit. Okay. Because here's the thing, a lot of times the neighbors will buy this land from us. Like I had a 20-acre parcel. There was no comps for like 3 miles. I was like, man, I don't know. We were going to buy it and list it. Well, we're like, let's just send a neighbor a letter. He owned 600 acres next to us. We sent the letter to the neighbor, and he called us immediately, wanted the land. He didn't want to pay us what we wanted for it, but he could close in like a week. So speed of money really talked to me that day. So I said, let's do it. We made $97,000 net profit on that deal. Never even took ownership of the land. Now, one thing happened though. It scared the heck out of me. My seller, I was on vacation actually. My seller calls my title insurance agent, the title company, and says, who is this LLC? This is not the guy I spoke to. And basically the title agent, and I didn't even know about this. The title agent said, listen, this happens a lot in this business. It's probably, they might be selling it to a partner, or they're changing the name of the LLC they're buying it in. She handled it like a pro. She is used to dealing with investors. That's a very important thing for anybody. I don't care if you're dealing in houses, apartments, you always want to work with a investor-friendly title agent or closing attorney, because they talk the languages that we do. And when I got word of it, I was like, oh my God, I should have bought this property or did a double close on it where I bought it and sold it. So that way the seller wouldn't see. Because I was thinking maybe she hates the neighbor and this just threw our deal off. Because that happens a lot. Sometimes the neighbors don't like each other. But it wasn't that case. She was just like, what is this? Like, why did the name change? That's all she wanted to know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, I've heard you talking about exit strategies. Let's do that a little bit. Like assigning it. Like, when do you assign and when would you take quick cash?
Yeah. Sometimes I have to assign contracts because I'm like, oh, listen, I don't want to take this down. I'm not quite certain about it. Or maybe I don't have the cash in my bank account, or maybe when my lenders are tapped out. So assignment usually means I don't have the money to buy it. I'm just going to make a quick cash. I prefer nowadays to buy it and control it, because usually you make more money. You don't have a gun to your head like 30 or 45 days to get the deal done. And sellers like that confidence. Now, I didn't start out like that though. I had to assign most of my stuff. That's why I was buying a couple $100 parcels of land, because I didn't have several thousands to buy. So when I would get the higher price properties, I would just assign my contracts where I would get it under contract and I would sell it to a cash buyer for a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm sort of doing a mini speed round here. Another exit strategy that I've heard you talk about, like just close and flip with a land savvy agent or something. How do you find that agent? Like you mentioned this realtor that bought you this $5,000 land off of you. How do you find them?
That one was dumb luck, honestly. And I think the more you work in this business, the better your luck's going to get. I found that first realtor by just calling the real estate office as close to the land as possible. Now I find them on Redfin, the ones that are actually selling the land around the area that I'm looking to buy in. Those are my land sales specialist agents. Same thing when I do a mobile home. When I put a brand new mobile home in the area, I want to call that agent that's selling all the mobile homes, listing all the mobile homes, because who's going to know that market better than them? They live there. They've got all the inventory, or they've sold the inventory. I'm not just looking for the ones that have listings. I'm looking for the ones that are selling these listings.
So they have firsthand knowledge, so they can make an educational decision quickly instead of.
Absolutely. Yeah. And my number one thing is, what's the blowout price? What's the get her done now price? I don't want to have this thing listed for 90 days. I want to be paid in 30. What do we need to list this thing for?
Okay. So you come down to the comps, basically, always the comps.
Yeah.
And do you prefer price per square foot? I mean, I know that you were saying that, or price per acre, like walk me through the math.
Usually if it's like an acre or less, I look at price per square foot. If it's an acre or more, I look at price per acre.
Okay. No, I love it. I love it. Before we wrap up, I always ask this question of everybody. You said you've listened to some of my stuff. So this is the Investing to Win podcast. How do you define success, and what does winning look like for you?
Success is sleeping very well at night. As entrepreneurs, we don't always sleep well. And winning for me is, really winning is just, wow, it's just the right outlook on things. We can worry about what might happen. That's called catastrophizing, the negative thing, but we can also see the positive of what will happen as well. I buy this land. Oh my God, what if no one buys it? What if I get stuck? What if I use our rent money to buy it? No, what if you buy the land and you make 150 grand on it? That third deal I talked about, the $75,000 one, I made over $150,000 on that one transaction over a course of like 3 years. I got monthly payments. I rented out the pastures. I sold the mobile home that was on it. Just little things like that. And it's a beautiful property. It's actually now it's a peach orchard. So it's really, really beautiful property.
Well, our audience is going to be clamoring for more. You mentioned, the land sharks. I'll get all the information off of you in the green room. I'll throw it into the show notes. But thanks again for coming on the show today. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate you very much.
All right. Thanks.